Class is in session. Welcome to the Wukusu Class podcast, where best-selling author, educator, community organizer, and empowerment coach Agyei Tyehimba drops 15 to 45 minutes of unapologetic leadership, self-empowerment, and Black political education content every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This is where activists sharpen their skills, community leaders get their game tight, and everyday folks learn to wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Malcolm X. Tap in, take notes, and let's build.
To fully grasp this idea of neocolonial leadership, we must first understand the concept of neocolonialism. Now, Kwame Nkrumah, the great Pan-African independence leader and the first president of modern Ghana gave us a powerful analysis of neocolonialism. He explained that after African nations won their independence from the European colonizers, those same European nations adapted their methods of control. So rather than ruling, let's say, openly with military force, they ruled indirectly through economic pressure, through political advice, and most importantly, through these hand-picked local leaders who served their interest. These are Black people, family. They look like the people they rule over. They spoke their language, they understood their culture, and they were promoted as symbols of independence and progress. But in reality, they were puppets. After the African independence movement, after all these African nations had won their independence, many of them realized they were only free on paper because they were controlled by neocolonialism. Not colonialism anymore, but new colonialism. These leaders served European interests while oppressing their own people. And in return, they received wealth, power, and protection. These countries are not technically independent. Their monetary system, their military, their language, in most cases, the official language, all of these things are controlled by the former colonial powers. So, in fact, they are still colonized. Because they are greedy and selfish, these neo-colonial leaders accept huge sums of money and all types of other political and economic benefits. And in return, their job is to make sure that France, for instance, gets control of their economy, to make sure that France's interests are served. So France winds up taking billions of dollars out of African countries that are supposed to be free, by the way. And the presidents of these countries get billions of dollars, but the people of those countries live in squalor. Some of you think this is just an issue for Africa. I want to clarify that. Neocolonialism is alive and well right here in the United States. The neocolonial leaders here in the United States, the Black ones, instead of empowering our people, these leaders monitor, mislead, and pacify our people. And just like in Africa, they are carefully chosen to resemble the communities they control. I'll repeat that. These neocolonial leaders are carefully chosen to represent the communities they control. So what this means is there'll be Black neocolonial leaders in Black communities and Latino neocolonial leaders in Latino communities. Why? So their portrayal is harder to detect. The thinking is, if we get people who look like you, dress like you, speak like you, have the same sort of cultural identities, the same customs, that they will be seen as trustworthy. So you might be asking, how do you spot neocolonial leadership? And here's a few things that you're going to see. Number one, they're going to violate community trust, and they do it with impunity. They misuse funds, they mistreat employees, and they fail to deliver on promises. Yet, for some strange reason, they remain in power despite their terrible and incompetent leadership, despite their malfeasance or corruption, and despite constant complaints from the community. Neocolonial leaders in our communities, they have easy access to money and resources. They receive funding, facilities, vehicles, media coverage, often as favors from the white folk who benefit from their loyalty and treachery to their own people. Neocolonial leaders in our community defend or excuse harmful institutions. So when the police brutalize our people, these are the ones that come and tell us, no, you got to wait for the investigation. You got to let the system do its job. We got to have faith in the police. Those are those people. They apologists for our enemies, for those who brutalize and misuse us consistently. Instead of fighting for us, they serve as the mouthpieces and the executioners for those who harm us. Often they are incompetent, not all the time, but often, because they are not in power due to their skills, due to their intelligence, due to their community service. They're in power because of their willingness to serve outside interests, because of their loyalty to the powers that be. As I'm going through this, I want you to think about some of the people in your community who are so-called leaders and see, does this apply to any people you know? Neocolonial leaders have questionable alliances. Pay attention to the relationships they have with certain politicians. Who do they serve? Who do they challenge? Who do they refuse to challenge? Who benefits from their leadership? This is something you'll see from neocolonial leaders. Now, I want to be clear because I don't want people leaving with the wrong impression. Just because a leader builds relationships with politicians, business leaders, or members of law enforcement, it doesn't automatically mean they are sellouts or neocolonial leaders. Some of our best leaders are politically savvy and they use their connections to uplift our people. The key difference here is intention and action. A legitimate leader builds relationships to help the community. A neocolonial leader builds relationships to help themselves and to help the people in power. That's the difference. So now, what do we do with this knowledge? First, you got to recognize neocolonial leadership when you see it. Because if we don't, we will continue to be misled, misinformed, and manipulated. Second, we must expose it. Third, we must build and support legitimate leadership. We should be investing in leaders who genuinely fight for our people, even when they lack the resources, the media coverage, the political backing. We cannot wait for permission to support those in our community who deserve our support. We must do that. We can't go by, well, the mayor says these are the people we should support. We can't listen to anybody. We have to go by resumes, receipts, and references, right? You go for a job, you're going to put in that resume. They're going to want references. Why? Because you could tell them anything on the paper. They want to know what is your ability or capacity to do a given job, to fulfill a job description. And you may say anything to get the job, so how do they verify that? They want you to put where you worked, when you worked, what your job title was, and then the references, they want to speak to supervisors or maybe somebody that worked with you to be able to speak to your character, your work character, and your work experience, and to verify that you, in fact, worked at this job when you said you did. The government vets people. They want to see who supports our politics, who has the necessary credentials or experience or education, who has demonstrated competence in these specific areas, and they vet these people. And then from that pool of people they vetted, they pick one or two people for whatever position they have. What we tend to do is accept people on their word. And you know how that works out, right? And so we're easy to infiltrate because we go for okie doke. We haven't vetted the people that's in our leadership. And I can guarantee you, family, when we start vetting people, we change the game. We have to kind of do that in our communities with people who pop up. What is this person's track record? Who are their teachers? Who are their funders? What past issues did they support or go against? What past people were they defending or offending? What issues did they raise? Where's the record they fought and they challenged and they helped and they healed and they built things that we needed? So, brothers and sisters, what I'm basically saying is that our struggle is not just against racism, capitalism, genderism, imperialism, and white folk. Let me say it that way. Our struggle is not just against white people. It's also against those within our own ranks who serve our oppressors, family. I don't care how nice your dashiki is, how many African languages you speak. If you change your names to African names, that matters to you. We cannot use symbolic things as legitimate criteria to measure leadership. Who is going to be effective? Who's competent? And who's incompetent, but they're going to bust their hump to get competent. So the question is, are we going to allow ourselves to be deceived because people are black like us and talk the slang we talk? Will you accept that type of leadership that's placed on us from outsiders, put here to confuse us, take our money, and have us working in the interests of those who despise our very presence? Or will you do the right thing, the strong thing? Will you build leadership that's authentic, that's competent, conscious, and committed to black liberation, that serves our needs, even when it's uncomfortable, even when they got to tell people the stuff they don't want to hear that? That's all right. Those are the people you're going to trust. When the stuff comes down, you're going to trust the people that will tell you what was going to happen before it happened. You're going to trust the people that went and fought the bully. When everybody else was running away, they went right to the bully and fought. The bully in this case being the political bully. The people that was protesting those police officers. The people that was leading boycotts or trying to divest our funds from people who don't respect us in these different enterprises. The future of our people depends on how we answer these questions, and I really hope and pray that we answer them wisely.